What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another Tottenham update, a late night one for you, seeing as the deadline was set at midnight tonight. We are as recording 10 minutes before midnight, but that is 50 minutes past midnight in Germany. So the deadline has been passed in Germany. So let's get through the updates and see what has happened since we last left you. And it started off with Jason Burt from the Telegraph saying that Bayern Munich still waiting for Tottenham's answer as to whether they will accept their final bid for Harry Kane ahead of a self-imposed midnight deadline set by the German club. Offer is close to but less than 100 million euros. The Athletic said that Bayern will offer Harry Kane 480 grand all in per week, which could be more than double his current basic salary. No issues on personal terms. Plettenberg says that I can't confirm a deadline for FC Bayern to Tottenham until midnight. As reported and revealed today, there's a new offer of more than 100 million euros on the table with add-ons. There's no real deadline, but Bayern expect an answer from Levy this weekend. Relationships between the bosses are very good and respectful. Driesen, Nepe and Levy are still in direct contact. Then he did follow on from that a couple of hours later, and he says, as expected from Bayern and reported, no answer from Tottenham yet to the new offer of more than 100 million plus add-ons, with add-ons included, revealed today. There was no deadline, therefore Bayern is still waiting for an answer this weekend. Sami Mokbel says that Bayern have asked Daniel Levy to make a decision by Saturday morning. They hope to reach an agreement with Spurs for Harry Kane this weekend after offering £86.24 million plus add-ons. FC Bayern are offering Harry Kane a 4-year contract worth 400k per week. Then Bild chimed in and they said there's still no agreement reached between Bayern and Tottenham following today's offer of more than 100 million euros. The poker game between both clubs have been postponed and will continue after the supposed deadline of midnight today. And then Paul O'Keefe gave us a really interesting update, and he said the numbers in the public domain are wrong. The money being discussed between Bayern and THFC is higher. So, I mean, just in this update alone, we've had below 100 million, we've had above 100 million, and then we're saying all these numbers. Paul O'Keefe is saying they're all wrong. It's higher than that. So, I mean, what are we supposed to believe here?
There's absolutely no chance you're going to get any sort of coherent message from all these updates, because at the moment it's a bit all over the place. It's hard to. We're trying to kind of piece together what's going on here, but literally everyone's contradicting each other. It just seems like no one really knows what's going on behind closed doors in terms of what the offer actually is. I think from the German side, you're obviously they're going to try and portray that they've made what Sky Sports said that they called it a final and fair offer. So they're portraying they've made it above, including add-ons above 100 million. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe they're trying to. Maybe the add-ons are not very likely, and maybe the actual bid is not sufficient that Tottenham would even consider it, because at the moment, still no agreement between the sides. It was, for me, it's no surprise whatsoever that Bayern Munich went for a desperate negotiation tactic, which is to set this deadline. And they really expected Levy to just bow to this deadline and just be like, oh my God, start panicking. Oh my God, they're going to set a deadline. Levy was never going to be fazed by this. I didn't think for 1 second he'd be fazed by this deadline. I said before, they don't know who they're dealing with. They thought this tactic was going to work. Of course, he's not going to take any notice of it, essentially. That's what's happened. So it looks like the bid they've made still doesn't meet our demands. We're going to basically keep saying no, and we're not going to, well, I guess it looks like we're still open because we haven't outright rejected it, but because it looks like Bayern are kind of coming back with their tails between their legs, kind of saying, well, okay, what about tomorrow morning? Do you mind telling us by tomorrow morning then? And then he's going to be like, no. And they're like, all right, what about next week? What about next week? Is that all right?
So what about a day before we start our season? Yeah, is that all right?
So I think if there's a poker game, I think Bayern are losing it at the moment. That's what it seems to me. But doesn't mean this deal doesn't get done. In terms of the prices we were talking about, we did the live stream before, and obviously we will say 85 million. If it's 85 million plus 20 million add-ons and the add-ons are achievable, I think that's a deal that brings Spurs to the table, and that's a negotiable deal. But if Paul O'Keefe is right and the deal is far higher, the numbers being discussed are far higher. But it's interesting what he means by that. Does he mean that the the money being offered by Bayern is much higher, or the money Spurs demand is much higher, or is the money being negotiated much higher? I wonder what he means by that. It's not 100% clear. So
The words
if
are the money being discussed for Kane and between Bayern and Tottenham is higher. So yeah, it's not very clear, is it? What do you think on your initial thought of reading that? Do you think that what's been said in the press is higher, or do you think that it's lower?
my initial thought when reading that from Paul O'Keefe was he was implying that the the numbers being negotiated by both sides that's on the table is much higher than 86 million plus add-ons. I'm assuming he's implying that the bid on the table from Bayern is higher and Tottenham wanted an even higher fee, I'm guessing. But he could mean that in terms of the figures being discussed, that just Tottenham want a higher bid. They're not. This is a far higher bid than what's on the table right now. So it's interesting. In terms of, we heard earlier in the day, what do we hear from Plettenberg, that they're confident this bid is going to be accepted, and that hasn't happened. So the confidence seems to be a bit misplaced, in my opinion, when it comes to that bid being accepted. So it looks like this game is going to rumble on. This deadline has been and went, and the deal was still on the table. It's still not dead. So either way, so I think they were obviously bullshitting about that deadline. That was clear. That's clear to see. We know we have our own deadline of beginning of the season that he needs to be done by then. I don't think we're bullshitting, to be honest. I don't think we start the season with Harry Kane and he ends up going. I do
That's
think it
not
has to
even
be
a
done this
Tottenham
week.
deadline, isn't it? That's a Harry Kane
Harry
deadline.
Kane deadline. I don't think he's bullshitting. Yeah. So I think look, it's going to be a big week. It's going to be a very big week, and I think Bayern have lost this round.
Sim, do you not think though that if it gets to a few days after we play Brentford and Bayern stump up whatever it is and Levy accepts the offer, I don't think Kane turns that down. I think he'll probably still go.
I don't.
I think if it actually comes down to it, he's probably saying, yeah, ideally, I don't want to start the season with Spurs if I'm going to Bayern.
Yeah, I think he's got to say that.
Yeah, but if it actually came down to it and the deal comes on the table, I think he still goes.
We'll have to see. Why would they stump up the cash a day later after the season? Why not now?
No, I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying if they did.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't believe any of these deadlines, essentially, is what I'm saying.
I hear that, but I think Kane is basically trying to send out the message that he's not taking Tottenham for fools and he is taking this season seriously. And if he starts the season, he thinks it's unfair that Postecoglou would have to. It's probably unfair that Postecoglou would have to deal without him once he started the season. And I think that's the right message. Whether Bayern will make a crazy increase in their offer after the season starts, that would have to be considered as and when. And if Tottenham accept it, then I think Harry Kane would have an obligation to consider it again. But I think in his mind, he's probably not thinking about moving to Bayern after the season starts right now.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I get that completely. But look, as we stand right here, about a few minutes to midnight in the UK, literally nothing has changed from when we brought you that live stream hours ago. So I guess let's move on from the Harry Kane situation.
I mean, all the changes Bayern have been made look a bit like mugs at the moment.
But I mean, there's still a long weekend ahead, and I think anything can still happen, to be honest, over the course of this weekend. But look, let's move on and let's talk about some potential other targets. We brought you on the live stream. We never actually brought in an update, so I thought I'd add it. Is Mehdi Taremi of Porto, and Dimarzio said that Tottenham are in contact with Porto for Taremi. Spurs are ready to offer 24 million euros, while Porto are asking for 30 million euros. I mean, this is a guy who scores bucket loads of goals in the Portuguese leagues, but he is 31 years of age, so I don't really understand these links too much. I mean, I can't see Spurs laying out any sort of significant fee for a 31-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, if we're supposed to be looking, spending the Kane money on a long-term replacement, I know we have Richarlison there, but we should be looking at the long term where you'd be signing a striker who's older than Kane when we're supposed to be looking at a refresh. And I know he's a good player. And I know he has bucket loads of goals. And actually, if we had a younger striker, say we already had a Gift Orban at Tottenham, then I wouldn't mind signing him to partner him as the more experienced option. But we have Richarlison, who's 26, leading the line for Brazil. So I don't see the need for him and then Taremi to bring in, as much as it might in the short term be better than having a gift Orban. I think long term it doesn't make too much sense, and I would rather be looking to the future, looking for players with high ceilings. Look, Taremi is a good player. I think under different conditions, I would be more happy to bring him in to the club. I just think right now isn't the right time. It doesn't make sense to me to sign an old striker at 31 with little resale value for a decent fee. 30 million euros, what, 25 million pounds? I mean, in this market, this day and age is not a lot, but it's not insignificant. You're not getting him for like under 10 million or something like that. So it's a fairly decent fee, which you're not going to get any return on essentially. And yeah, maybe he might be good for a year or two, but when you're replacing one of the best strikers you've ever had, I'd like to think that we're looking long term with this deal. We're being smart with our money, and I don't think it represents a smart move. I just think it smells of short-termism and looking to just give Ange a boost for next season and not the long-term future.
What if I was to tell you Spurs has a buyback clause in the Bayern deal for 2 years' time, or we could potentially get him back in 2 years' time? So Taremi would just be a 2-year option for Kane to come back in 2 years.
I would still rather Orban. Look, I guess if that case, it probably makes a bit more sense. You kind of fill in Kane, Taremi kind of fills in the blanks for 2 years, and then we can get Kane back. But
pipe dream anyway.
Huh?
It's just
that's just a hypothetical. Even in that case, to be honest, I'd still rather a younger striker with high potential. I just want to see a striker at Tottenham. I want a young striker who has the potential to grow and has a really high ceiling. I would rather see that right now. So I feel like we've been signing too many players who are just like ready-made, but I'd rather a player with a high ceiling who can potentially be a star. That's what I'd rather than like a 31-year-old who we know who we're getting. And even though it's a good player, it's like he's already hit a ceiling.
Gift Orban's the guy, man. I'm telling you, like with a name like Gift, there's no chance he's going to flop. No chance 100%. In the world. Get him in.
Although Marvelous Nakamba wasn't great.
Very true. Let's move on. The Mail are reporting once again that Tottenham want to sign Nottingham Forest forward Brennan Johnson. I mean, he's going to cost a minimum of 40, 45 million, 50 million, something like that. If I can only see us buying him if we do sell Kane. But even if we do sell Kane, I would prefer probably to spend that kind of money elsewhere, I would say.
Yeah, I do like Brennan Johnson. I think he's really quick, and I think he's really developing he's got really good final third output. You saw how clinical he was in the Championship. He scored like 19 goals. And then last season, he got 10 Premier League goals, and he's still 21 or 22. So he's still like quite young and still developing as well. So I'm actually quite a big fan of Brennan Johnson, but I think he likes to play on the right-hand side, which is actually quite a benefit to us because we need a right-hand side. But in a way, I'm maybe thinking more of it, to be honest, and it kind of makes even more sense because all our kind of wingers are inverted, and he would be one of these more orthodox wingers. I say unorthodox because in modern day, an orthodox winger is to invert, whereas back in the day, an orthodox winger was to go on the outside. But he would be like a more orthodox winger who likes to go on the outside and challenge defenders that way, and we don't really have too many of those. So on that sense, I think he's the right profile, and I think he's the right kind of player we should be going for. But it is a big outlay. I do think you can find someone of similar quality for a lot less around Europe. So I would probably look elsewhere. But if Tottenham are prepared to overpay, I mean, I think he is a good signing. He could also fill in up front as well, if need be. Quite versatile. The only thing is, I just feel like he needs to develop his ability to take people on, especially and like to play on the left and invert. But look, his role at the moment, he likes to go on the outside. I always feel like with those kind of players when they're young, like a bit like Bale when he was young, and he used to be a winger in that way. He used to always go on the outside, and then people worked him out, and so he had to find different ways around players. That's when he started to play on the right and invert. So I feel like right now, Brennan Johnson's in that stage where he's very young and he's got all that energy and he takes people on around the outside. But I think down the line, he might have to learn different positions.
Like if you were going to bring in Brennan Johnson, right, he would be a great option to have around the squad as a squad filler and, come on and actually make a difference in games. I genuinely believe he can do that. But when you're talking about an outlay of 50 million, I mean, I don't think there's any point.
Kane money, essentially.
Yeah, and if you're thinking, first of all, half the Kane money. Second of all, a massive outlay for the club. where this summer, we're only spending on one player, which is Van de Ven at the moment. I mean, like, he's just going to be a squad player at best right now. I know maybe he can grow into a decent role in the future, but if you're looking short term, just for next season, he's always going to be a backup to Kulusevski on the right, or a backup for whoever we've got on the left. All three players probably get in front of him on the left-hand side, to be honest. So I don't know, 50 million for a squad player in the short term, but he can grow in that role maybe in future years. So maybe it's a good investment for the future.
I mean, it could. I mean, he's young and he's already getting double digits in the Premier League, so that's not to be sniffed at.
Well, he got 8, didn't he? 8 goals.
Was it 8? I thought it was 10.
8 goals.
Was it 8?
8 goals and 3 assists.
Okay, fine. 8
Not
goals.
in the Championship, he got 28 goal contributions, 18 goals and 10 assists.
And he's still 21.
22 now.
22.
He just turned
Pretty
22
good.
in May.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember I was keeping actually a close eye on him in the season, because one of us, I can't remember which one, I think it was you actually, that put him as your surprise package or something in the Premier League predictions. And, you know, we're keeping close eye on him, and he was actually struggling at the beginning, but I think he really got to grips with things. I think there's been another Kane update actually that's just come through from Fabrizio Romano. 1 second. Where is it? Here. In the morning, Bayern presented 100 million euros plus add-ons for Harry Kane. As of now, they haven't heard from Daniel Levy yet. Surprise, surprise. Bayern remain optimistic and confident this deal can happen, but they are still waiting for a response from the Tottenham chairman. Kane contract is ready and the player has already said yes.
Classic Levy. That's got Levy written all over it. I just think he's not happy with the deal. But then again, he hasn't rejected it, that he's saying, just haven't heard from him. So that would indicate that it's not a definite no, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like, if it was a bid that Levy wouldn't want, he would have outright rejected, like he has done in the past. I think now they've probably given him a bid to think about, and he's got a long.
I don't think it gets accepted.
Long Shabbat to think about it for.
He'll send a counter offer, I reckon.
Potentially. But look, that's where we're at the moment. We'll hear more tomorrow, no doubt. But a couple more players talk about potential outgoings. Davinson Sanchez, L'Equipe are reporting that Strasbourg retain interest in Davinson Sanchez as manager Patrick Vieira wants a defender with experience. This is an interesting one, actually, because Strasbourg, I believe they've just been taken over by Todd Boehly or someone connected with Todd Boehly or something. Pardon?
Yeah, I think you might be right.
And they've got a lot of money. They're spending quite a bit of money this summer. They got Patrick Vieira as their manager. I mean, this one could actually be a viable option.
I hope so, because every time we seem close to selling him, something happens, and we were stupid to accept the Russian offer. That was never going to really bear fruition. Villarreal and being linked with them, better to being linked with them. No one seems to be offering the money that we want, I guess. So hopefully Strasbourg, I think a move to France for a team up and coming like that, I think it'll be a good move for him, and I think it'll be a good signing for Strasbourg as well.
And there's been another update from Fabrizio Romano. He just says, keep an eye on Gift Orban. He's really appreciated by Tottenham. I will tell more in the next days, but he's on the list for Tottenham. I like that, man. I like that.
Very interesting.
Bring him in.
Very interesting. Yeah, look, I think he's an exciting prospect, Gift Orban. I think 21 years of age, he's explosive. He's really starting to bang in goals. At the end of the day, it's a very small sample size, but you can only go on what he's done at the moment, and what he's done is he's flying. And I think it's £20 million is worth taking a punt.
Is this not like a proper FM signing, Gift Orban, that comes in and scores like 100 goals a season for you?
It just seems like the perfect. He seems too good to be true, Gift. That's why I'm very skeptical about it. He's too good to be true.
Last but not least, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Look, this is the same update from Matti Moretto for the past 2 weeks, or even more from Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. But he says Atletico still want Pierre from Tottenham. They are first waiting for departures within their squad. Felix is kicking up a fuss now, so maybe with Felix kicking up a fuss, that can really hurry up this deal.
Yeah, I hope so. But it seems like there's taking time. Again, even when someone leaves, are they going to offer the price? They're going to have to spend probably what they sell on Højbjerg, so it's going to be quite a significant outlay. But Look, for me for this Højbjerg one, as much as I prefer to sell him, I'm not too bothered whether he goes or not. I'm happy to keep him around as well. So it's not one where, like with Sanchez, where I'm just counting the days till he goes. With Højbjerg, it's a bit calm situation. If he stays, I think we've got a good player. If he goes, I think we can use the money to upgrade him. So either way, it's okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is your Tottenham update today. We'll speak to you tomorrow regarding all the situations, specifically Harry Kane, and maybe Romano will give us something on Gift Orban as well tomorrow. But tomorrow is another day in Tottenham paradise. We'll see you all there. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.